Psychonauts, a game about a kid that runs away from home, sneaks into a psychic training camp, and uncovers and stops an attempt at world domination. Or at least that's what the game seems to be about, but I'm not so sure. When you take a closer look at the game, there's a lot that doesn't add up. How did a child break into a government facility meant to train psychic spies and soldiers? Why did they have a war-scarred veteran with known childhood trauma teach a bunch of kids above a material that was known to make unstable people more unstable? I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to guess that putting the coach over such a large amount of titanium would have a negative effect on him. So why did they choose to put him there? Why did they put an insane asylum over that very same material for that matter? And why did Sasha leave Raz alone when he clearly realized there was a threat to him and the other kids? The game is filled with questionable things, and maybe you write it all off as the developers just not thinking that deeply into it, but I think there's actually an explanation for all of this that shows that the game is much darker than we originally thought, and that maybe the bad guys aren't who we thought they were. Here's what I think the true story of Psychonauts is. Long before the events of the game, Agent Crawler was in a psychic duel that shattered his mind and left him completely insane. The Psychonaut agency tried to help him, but after a long time with no success, everyone just gave up on him. Everyone except for a few extremely loyal agents such as Sasha and Mia. These agents continued to experiment in order to find a way to return Agent Crawler's sanity. Sasha even experimented on children.
If I could just get him in my lab for some experiments, I'm sure he could withstand more than the others.
That kid's 1 in a million, Nine. But I'm not gonna let you turn him into one of your guinea pigs.
Which is something the coach alludes to early on in the game. Eventually they discover that a large amount of titanium can temporarily restore his sanity. At this point, you'd think he'd just return to the Psychonauts and show them what they discovered, right? It would have been simple to show them that he was sane again, but he didn't do that. He didn't do that because things had changed while he was gone. A grave new danger was threatening the Psychonauts, and Agent Crawler was no longer sure who he could trust within the agency. That's when Agent Crawler and his loyalists came up with a plan. They needed someone from outside the agency, someone they knew wouldn't be corrupted. I mean, who knows how long they searched for, but their search eventually led them to Raz, a young psychic who has the potential to be a skilled and powerful agent, and also the type of life and mental state that will allow them to manipulate him into being what they need. Once they had their candidate, they set their plan in motion. Secretly, they entered Raz's mind and created a division where they knew Raz would be vulnerable. They take a fear that was in his mind, namely the fear that his dad hates him because he's psychic, and they make it grow until it becomes unbearable. It's because they did this that Raz's representation of his father was so radically different than what his dad was actually like. They then made sure that Raz had a solution in mind: run away to become a Psychonaut. I guarantee you that it was not a coincidence that Raz ended up with that Psychonaut camp brochure. At the same time this was going on, they would have placed the coach in as teacher at the camp, knowing what the results would be. Likely they even entered his mind to push him towards what they wanted. After that, the plan would have been pretty straightforward. Push Raz into speed learning everything that is needed to become a Psychonaut in a way that can only be done when your life is on the line. Convince him that he is meant to be a Psychonaut, manipulate him into feeling loyal to Agent Crawler and his team, and finally make sure he saves the day in a way that will make sure nobody can stop him from becoming a full-blown Psychonauts agent. This last part of the plan went beyond just saving the kid and stopping the coach. They needed to ensure that what he achieved, what he did, would guarantee that he would become a Psychonaut. So what they had him do was not just save the kids in the camp, they had him save the daughter of the director of the Psychonauts. It's even possible, no, I'd say it's even likely, that their relationship was anything but organic. After all, they did start dating after just one day. I mean, it's a pretty sick story if you ask me. All these misdeeds for what? The sake of the greater good? I think it's pretty clear when you take all this into consideration that the real bad guys here, the real bad guys of Psychonauts of this story, are Sasha, Mia, and Agent Crawler.